10 o'clock. Shall we finish up with our Psalm 23 offerings, Rabbi? How does that sound?
Perfect.
All right. So we have 3 final offerings for Psalm 23. Let me put them. I thought I had them up. Hold on just one second. All right. All right, here we go. So, if we have, let's see, is Sarah, I see Sarah, I saw Sarah Sill. Sarah, would you like to unmute yourself?
Done. Hi.
All right, so I hope I did this right. There's the collage and then the text. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
All right, so how would you like me to show this? How would you like to present it?
I look at the artwork first.
Okay.
That's really more my thoughts about Psalm 23. So I'm still struggling with finding the comfort that so many people seem to derive from Psalm 23. But as we're studying it, it brought to mind a collage I made a while ago at a time when, like now, I had so many obligations and things that I had to take care of, and I really wanted someone to take care of me. And I think that's what this psalm is about, feeling cared for, feeling guarded, protected. So I don't know how big it is on your screen. It's small in mine, but.
Well, I mean, I can make it a little bigger, but not to show the whole thing.
Gorgeous. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the elements?
Yeah, so, when you have a narrative collage, the story depends on your conscious, your unconscious, both the artist and the viewer. And so I'm looking at this now with Psalm 23 in my head, and I see that the figure is reclining in green pastures, otherwise known as a divan. And there is water, there's a stream of water. And she is being guarded, or the title of the piece is called Someone to Watch Over Me. So she's being watched over by a muse, which is important for artists and creative sorts. There's her inner child, which I think is your truest self. And lo and behold, I didn't realize this, but she's got a warrior shepherd watching over her. And the shepherd is cradling the little lamb. And what's interesting to me, and actually it's a reflection of how I feel, she's got one eye opened. So I think when you rest, the whole idea that a shepherd is watching the flock can rest knowing that the shepherd is watching over them, watching out for the wolf, whatever that may mean. But in this case, she's a little skeptical. She's not sure that everybody who's around her is really, that she's safe, that she's being guarded by. I'm sorry, I have construction next door. So that's basically my current state of mind. I feel like I'm trying to connect with the spirits that guard me, but I'm still have one eye open.
Uh-huh. Beautiful. And this is really an unusual and a new way of looking at a psalm, and this psalm in particular. So I'm so grateful for this contribution. It is beautiful.
And sir,
How large is it? How large is it? What's the size?
It's about 10 by 10, something like that.
Great.
12 by 12.
And are those watercolors? And
actually behind it is sort of a process, alcohol ink.
uh-huh.
So it does have that fluidity.
Yeah.
Add some kind of medium to it.
Okay, well, thank you. We're going to have to mute the construction.
Sarah, you had a little, did you want to share your text also?
Because I think you will understand the open eye. So I actually started writing this when we did the creation song. And it just kind of morphed into 23. So here it is. How to be hopeful, grateful, and accepting, and not to be despairing, envious, and in turmoil. That is the question. Sometimes when I'm at the bottom of a well, so deep I can't see the sky. I try to negotiate with a higher power. If you bring me out of darkness, I promise to, but I get no reply, not even a counteroffer. What is, what is the point of having all those attributes, loving, merciful, forgiving, redeemer, protector, and hiding them from me? How can I connect with any of this? Then, in an unexpected moment, I'm under a canopy of magnolias, petals gently floating down like pink velvet snow. At my feet, the tiniest lilies of the valley, their delicate heads bowed with grace. It takes my breath away. Such harmony in nature. In those moments when I'm comforted by a friend, inspired by a painting, moved by a book, thrilled by music, in touch with the beauty of the world, I'm uplifted and feel blessed. Is this how you work? How to live in the present and aware of the goodness around me? How to dwell in a house of faith? How to be with you throughout the days of my life?
Wow, thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think what you point out here, Sarah, in a very beautiful way is raising the questions. You don't need to have the answers. If what the Psalms do is raise these as questions, that's, 90% of what we're doing is, yeah, this is the place I live at this intersection of this level of doubt and this level of comfort and this level of discomfort and this level of it, etc. And it's like surfacing, raising to the surface what these issues are, which in our normal lives we don't even think about normally. We just, or they're very private or just, and this brings it into a ritual way. And then this description of this unexpected moment, and that I think is what the best of what spirituality or religion does, which is to raise up those unexpected moments to a level of consciousness, of an awareness, and of trying to create what I hope to do. The best of a religious service is to create a container to have agency over creating those moments that otherwise are completely unexpected. That's if we're doing it the best. But this is really beautiful, really beautiful.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I have a shout out to Harold for helping us with this project of memorization, because for one way I can access it now that I've memorized it, it's like a mantra. And even
Uh-huh.
if I don't always feel it, by saying it, I sometimes feel.
You have just got to a lot of what Jewish prayer is about. The repetition of the words themselves create a train, or create the tracks of a train, and we're the train, or create the container that we can go along without just ourselves, but in the container, of those words. You've just described the power of Jewish prayer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. And Sarah, save that collage, because we're hoping to have a real life art exhibition of the Psalm class offerings when we're all back at 30th Street. And we would all love to see that in person.
My pleasure.
Jack Neiman.
Offering response inspired by Psalm 23 and the song Take My Hand, words and music by Michael Herron, arranged by Rick Cummins, 1993. Take my hand and walk along beside. Take my heart and I shall be your guide. Take my soul, take everything you see. Take my love and give your love to me. We will turn the wrong in this world to right and turn the days of darkness to light. I'll be all that I can be for you, all I can be with you to help me see the way to grow together. Take my fears, for you can make them not. Take my faults, by your teaching I'll be taught. Take my doubts and all uncertainty. Take my love and give your love to me. Take my hand and walk along beside. Take my heart and I shall be your guide. Take my soul, take everything you see. Take my love and give your love. Take my love and give your love to me. Sorry.
Wow, that's so beautiful, Jack. Would you talk to us about it?
1993, Rick and I had a commitment ceremony in upstate New York in Germantown, near Rhinebeck, Rhinecliff, you know that area in the Hudson Valley. A very bucolic setting beside a man-made lake with weeping willows, a guitar player, a flute player. And we actually had a rabbi that you suggested from CBST, Rabbi Ari Fridkis, because at that time you were not doing, interfaith. I hadn't gone to CBST. We were not that active. I hadn't gone through the conversion process or the bar mitzvah process, but we caught up with you later, Rabbi. We caught up with you. We caught up with you later. That's a whole other story. So this was written and performed at our ceremony in upstate New York in this beautiful, beautiful setting. And when I agree with Sarah, this psalm is so caught up in all the iconography of Jesus and the shepherd and the blonde curls and the blue eyes holding the sheep. I mean, it's just, it had all these things that I was trying to get rid of, really. So when I couldn't write anything, and then when I saw that performance by that wonderful artist too, I just thought, okay, what more can be said? That was brilliant, Harold, the two of you. I mean, it was so amazing. I thought, like, no more can be said. We should end the note there. And I sent Harold a note saying, okay, I'm withdrawing my offering. And I didn't want to say anything because I thought, like, I can't add anything. And then I was encouraged by a couple of people to, like, go ahead with and offer it. And that's the background. And that's what reminded me, this bucolic setting. And Rick is my guide. This was written 28 years ago. This was 7 years after we first started. Oh, and this is a little fun note. At this wedding was Bill Hipsher and Bill Johnson, his first partner, may he rest in peace. And then, Rabbi, fast forward, when we were trying to get married in the sanctuary at Bethune, remember? And they had our names wrong on the thing. Right. And then you had to leave, and then Rachel Weisz performed the ceremony. But who was in the sanctuary at a board meeting? Bill Hipsher. And then he came in, and he's one of our witnesses, along with Joyce Rosenzweig. So he was there in 93, and then he was there in 2014 when we did the New York State one. So
then we did it in Jerusalem.
Well, then, yes, 10 years later in 2003 during Hanukkah.
One of the many marrieds.
Well, there's 5 or 6, I can't. Well, we just availed ourselves of what you could do. In 1993, we had a commitment ceremony. In 2002, you could do Vermont. You could, we just did what we could anyway. I don't want to go on and on, but we did catch up with you which is the most amazing one, in Jerusalem in 2003. And many of you were there that are in this class. And that's the connection.
Jack, would you ever consider singing this for the class?
I would. I'm not prepared to do that right now, but it's a beautiful song. Yep. And the melody is, I could do it. Yeah, I could do it.
Great.
And thank you for including me in the service, Rabbi. That was a total honor and a total surprise. That's very, very
beautiful. Thank you, Bubala.
All right. I'm going to
it took all of my restraint not to use something in which I was your page turner or your or your baton twirler. People know I have a great history with the shows of. Yes, you're muted, Bubala. You're muted. We can't hear you.
You're muted.
We can do something in the future.
Yes.
Those are the most fun times, and those are the best concerts, that were
Yeah,
the ones
that's
you were
so
in.
much fun.
Absolutely.
So we have one more offering, but before we go to that, the rabbi has suggested there might be one or two people who here who memorized the psalm, who would like to recite it for us from memory before we move on to our next thing to wrap up our Psalm 23. So I'll let all of you figure who is that person who has memorized it, and we will do one more offering, and then hopefully we will have a volunteer. Um, all right. So is Monica Raymond here today?
Yep, I'm here.
Monica,
Yeah.
oops, hold on. This is not what I wanted to share. Um, yes, here we are. So, I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble this morning sharing all these things. Let me get this right. Let me get this right. So Monica, can you just tell us for a second, do you want to tell us what your format is before you read it? Because it is a little,
Hold on, I'll be right back. There's somebody at my door. Hold on.
okay, all right. Monica, or do you just want,
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
you want to tell us what it is we're going to be looking at, or do you just want to read it first?
No, I'll talk about it. It's an erasure poem of the King James Version of Psalm 23. So in an erasure poem, you put down the text, and then you either black out or erase the words that you don't want. So you kind of carve a poem out of the poem that's already there.
All right.
So that's what I did.
All right, so here we have, which translation did you use?
I used the King James because that's what I grew up with, and that's what I know by heart.
All right, and this is a thing, erase your poems.
Yeah, I sent you a bunch of articles about it when you told me that you didn't know what it was.
All right, because I'm thinking that other people. So let's wait till the rabbi is back so that she gets the entire experience.
I apologize. My super was buzzing me, of
It's,
course. This is New York. Okay.
of course, of course.
I'm back.
Sorry, so Monica will be sharing her erasure poem. Go ahead.
I shall want. I shall want green pastures, still waters, my soul, righteousness. Scroll, please.
Is it scrolling? I scrolled it.
The shadow, no evil, art, comfort, a table, mine, my head, my cup, goodness and mercy, all the days of my life.
Wow, I love this and this exploration of formatting and space to achieve that sense. So talk to us, Monica. I love this.
So while you were talking to your super, I explained to the class that this is an erasure poem of the 23rd Psalm, the King James Version. So basically, I put the text down, and then I got rid of any words that I didn't want.
Amazing, amazing, so creative.
So that was my plan, and then there were certain serendipities, like art, that comes from "Thou art with me." And then my head, my cup is a little, it's like a little Yiddish pun there.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And basically, I now feel that I can stand behind it. I feel that the poem is really, from my point of view, a poem of yearning rather than reassurance.
Nice.
And so this is how I define myself, by wanting these things, not by feeling that they have already happened, because I don't feel that they have. But I feel that there's a nobility in the wanting of them, in the keeping on wanting of them, even in the face of disappointment or destruction.
So profound, so profound. And what a model for us. This is really kind of explodes open some ways to approach the Psalms. I think I've told you, or many months ago, I told you one way to look at biblical Hebrew is to just, especially in narrative, little less true in poetry, but to some degrees, it can be seen in poetry as well. Um, is in a biblical narrative to remove everything but the verbs, and sometimes you could see in the verbs the whole story, the whole, and everything else is, and I never knew to call it an erasure process, but sometimes I do that when I'm preparing dreshot, for instance, and I want to get to the core of what is being said. There's some strange background sound. Who is that? Is that me?
I think it may be you, Rabbi.
There is no sound. It would have to be in my computer because that sound isn't in the room.
A bug in your, all right.
No,
Maybe
now
it was
it's quiet.
Monica. All right, Monica's now muted. Maybe it was Monica.
Okay. And so it's the same idea. You can, and in biblical prose, usually the real story is told just in the verbs. But what you've done with this poem, Monica, and with this psalm is spectacular. I really love it.
Wow.
Thank you.
So that is all of our offerings for Psalm 23. What a remarkable outpouring of creativity. Is there anyone who felt that they already would like to recite the psalm from memory, who did our memorization? If not, we can respect that. Stephen Deem. Stephen Deem, I was hoping that you would do that. So let's spotlight Stephen and unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you. I'm actually also shaking. But this is very challenging because I don't speak Hebrew and because I'm in bait number 2 and I'm stalling because I'm getting ready to go.
Okay.
Mizmor LeDavid. Elohim Rohi Lo Eksar. Binot Deshe Yerabetseni Alme Minochot Yunahaleni. Nafshi Yushavev. Ankeni Vamal Galet Tzedek Lama'an Shamo. Ganki Erech Bavesa Malvet Lo Ira Ra. Ki Ata Imadi. Shaftaka Amish Humaka Hema Yanachamoni. Tararok Lifanai Shulchan Neget Soreirai Deshanta Vashemen Roshi Kosi Revaya Ach Tov Chesed Yeravafuni Al Yemei Chaya B'shafti B'veit Elohim Leorach Yamim.
Whoa, that's fantastic. That is
Wow.
amazing, Stephen. Were you ever this nervous in a class to, does that bring you back to something as a kid? That was fantastic and so moving to hear that you've embodied it that way.
Did
Well,
you ever think a year ago that you'd be reciting Psalm 23 in Hebrew from memory?
Well, yes, I'm an actor. And my goal to do this was to give myself an acting exercise, like the way Meryl Streep played the Yiddish woman in Sophie's Choice, talking in Polish with a Yiddish accent, and we understood everything she said. So it's a goal that I've had as an actor. So yes, I even started studying the Hebrew in the bait class because I'm working on a piece. Let me give a commercial for myself. I'm working and maybe get help from people. I'm working on a piece called a memoir based on Psalm 90. I'm using Psalm 90, and I started working on that before you started the class.
Wow.
And it was like serendipitous, and I've put it away. But it was a goal of mine to be able to do it. But yes, I got very scared because I knew I had to do it for real because you all understand Hebrew. I've been working at it on my acting workshop. So this is not that I have not spent the past 5 weeks working at this.
Well, beautiful. Well, we're so delighted to be your audience.
Thank you for letting me share this.
Very moving.
Right. And Rabbi, I found something I've been looking for, which I finally got it that I'd like to share is the final Psalm 23. This is an amazing, I saw this at the Catholic Center at Yale when I was there many years ago. It's by an artist who specializes in signage and simplified representation. Let's see, Doggett, her name is Doggett, and she's a student of Joseph Albers. But these are about 12 by 12 inch little panels in the chapel. And this is her simplified sign version.
Oh, fantastic.
So each verse has, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Wow, that's spectacular. Is that in the permanent collection there?
It is in this, it's in the, yes, it's at Yale. It's actually hanging in the Newman, I think it's the Newman Center.
In the Newman Center.
Bosai Lecture Hall, Jane Davis Doggett, MFA from Yale. And her unique design system is iconochrome, geometric designs and colors expressing philosophically profound messages. I interpret and project the essence of a written message using graphic symbols or icons, which are structured from basic geometric circle, square, triangle in interaction with color or chrome. It is to this genre that her 23rd Psalm belongs and is included in her book, Talking Graphics. At STM at Yale, 12 brightly colored boxes or cubes. It sits out from the wall and interpret the 6 verses of the Psalm positioned along the top of the wall opposite the windows. Her hand-drawn images are computer scanned in layers for each color segment and digitally printed electronic silk screening shows the influence of her teacher, Joseph Albers.
Electronic silk screening. Wow, I've never heard of that. I'd love to know more about that.
So I will post this in the Facebook page, but I couldn't get one that showed all of them. And it just miraculously, I typed it in one last time and it showed up here.
Wow, Harold, this is fantastic. What a great,
aren't these great?
example. I think, yeah. I like there's much to talk about each of them, but will you share this in the Facebook?
I certainly will. So did you want to talk about the next couple of weeks and then get us?
Yes, let me talk about the next couple of weeks, basically the whole month of July and starting with this week, the end of June. Let me put us back, let me get back in the gallery view. So today we're going to start with Psalm 24 and we're going to do that this week. Psalm 24, for those of you who go to shul, will be very familiar to some of you, Shabbos morning in particular. Actually, I mean daytime morning services, and I'll talk about when we get to that. Starting next week, we've made a little bit of a change, though I think we already mentioned this, I can't remember. For the next 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks in July, not Monday because it's July 4th weekend observed day. So starting Tuesday, July 6th, Rabbi Rapport is going to teach for 2 weeks Psalms of Psukei de Zimra, which are the Psalms, not all of them, but we're going to discuss the overview of the Psalms that are used in morning services. And they're slightly different, but they're Psalms for weekday morning, Shabbos morning, Yontiv morning. There's a whole set of Psalms that are used in the morning. Psukei de Zimra means verses of praise or verses of song. Zimra is like from Mizmor or Zmira or Zemer. So Psukei de Zimra are verses of song or of phrase, and it's a collection of psalms that are put together Again, there are a few different orders of them. And then the third week in July, which is July, I don't have the calendar right for me, is it the 19th? Hold on, let me open this. July 19th, which is the day after Tisha B'Av, Rabbi Moskowitz is going to teach for the week Psalms of Comfort, because the time between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah are called the 7 weeks of comfort, and he's going to explore that week just talking about how Psalms of Comfort. Then the July 26th, we're going to shut down the Psalms Factory, and there will be no class the final week in July. And then August 2nd, I will be back, and then I'll be here. So August 2nd is when we will, if you'll do write any personal offerings on anything in July, we'll explore them when I come back. Either Psalm 24 that we're going to be studying this week, or if you're moved to write an offering based on any of the Psukei de Zimra, or any of the Psalms that Rabbi Moskowitz explores. And then back August 2nd, and we'll continue through September, and then we'll give you the dates. We'll obviously not be meeting on the days of Yom Tov. And then we'll talk about what will happen during the sabbatical and after.
And obviously, I will be putting this into an email.
Yeah, you'll get all this in writing. Okay, so let's start by looking at
Psalm 24.
Psalm 24, moving along in our...
Okay. So would you like a Hebrew reader and an English reader, Rabbi?
Yeah, let's start by doing that.
All right, so hands for our Hebrew reader. Ben Shafran has volunteered to be our Hebrew reader. Hold on. Ben, take it away. Ben, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Harold, did you send out a copy of Psalm 24?
Nope.
You did not.
No, we have it on the screen.
That's my fault. I just decided this morning, so Harold was... Okay. So you just
follow along on the screen for now.
Or
all right.
Look in front of you.
Ben?
לדוד מזמור, לאדוני הארץ ומלואה, תבל ויושבי בה. כי הוא על ימים יסדה, ועל נהרות יכונניה. מי יעלה בהר אדוני, ומי יקום במקום קודשו? נקי כפיים ובר לבב, אשר לא נשא לשווא נפשי, ולא נשבע למרמה. נכתב ברכה מאת אדוני, וצדקה מאלוהי ישעו. זה דור דורשיו, מבקשי פניך יעקב סלע. שאו שערים ראשיכם, וינשאו פתחי עולם, ויבוא מלך הכבוד. מי זה מלך הכבוד? אדוני עזוז וגיבור, אדוני גיבור מלחמה. שאו שערים ראשיכם, ושאו פתחי עולם, ויבוא מלך הכבוד. מי הוא זה מלך הכבוד? אדוני צבאות, ומלך הכבוד סלע.
Thank you. Jeffrey, could we get you to read it in English? If you were here, Jeffrey? I don't see everybody. Is Jeffrey here?
Yes, I'm here and I can read it in English. To God belongs the earth and its fullness, the world and those who dwell within it. For you founded it upon the seas, you established it upon great rivers. Who shall ascend to the mountain of Adonai, and who shall stand at your sacred site? Clean hands shall, and an honest heart, one who raises up no falsehood to deface my name, who has not sworn an oath that hides deceit. This one shall rise up a blessing from Adonai, and justice from the God of our deliverance. This is the seed of seekers after you, those who are the ones who look for you, your presence. This is Jacob, Selah. Rise up your heads, O regal gates. Let yourselves be raised up, O doors to eternity. Let there enter the ruler of glory. Who is this ruler of glory? Adonai, strong and mighty. Adonai, mighty in battle. So rise up your heads, O regal gates. Rise up the doors to eternity. let there enter the ruler of glory. Who is this ruler of glory? Adonai of hosts. This is the ruler of glory. Shelach.
Thank you so much.
It's nothing.
So this is the Levy translation, and the Levy, this is copied from the Richard Levy set of Psalms, which we're now starting with because it has the Hebrew and English on the page. So a few things about Psalm 24. I think at this point you should start to recognize what big categories the psalm might fall in, even if there's no psalm is necessarily 100% one thing. But this is, I'd say, pretty clear. It's not a lamentation psalm, right? It's not a psalm that is a woe is me or a psalm of fear and anxiety. It's by and large a psalm of, there's some wisdom psalm elements. In other words, the Mi Ya'aleh, who shall ascend to the Adonai mountain of God? Who shall stand at your sacred site? Clean hands, honest heart. So we recognize that it's a psalm of teaching us not only the negative, which some psalms do, but it gives us the positive. It has a sense of aspiration to it. And we'll dig into this psalm this week. This is a very famous liturgical psalm. It's the psalm for Sunday. It is the psalm that is every day of the week is assigned a psalm. And everybody here probably knows that Psalm 92 for Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat is the only psalm that actually says Shabbat in it. So that's the Shabbat psalm. And there are 6 other psalms that are assigned to each week. This one is assigned to Sunday. I think actually originally even in the Talmud. And it's now in the diaspora done by everybody on Sundays. So if you go to shul on a Sunday, you will hear this psalm recited. Portions of the psalm are recited every Rosh Chodesh and festival when the Torah is taken out. On Shabbat, we sing certain words. And on Rosh Chodesh and Yom Tov, we sing starting in verse 7, Se'u Sha'arim Rashechem. Did anybody here grow up in the Reform movement? There's a very famous setting from the 50s and 60s that was done, which I won't attempt to do. Maybe one of our cantors will bring it in one day. But if any of you grew up in the Reform movement in the 50s or 60s, and maybe even the 70s, this was every single Reform synagogue would sing the English. Maybe we'll prepare that. I don't know if Cantor Nimi or Cantor or Chazan Hirsch is with us. For those from a Reform background, and for those who are in our conservative or Orthodox, this is done, as I said, every Rosh Chodesh, every Yontiv when the Torah is open. We don't do the same thing we do on Shabbat when the Torah is taken out. This psalm is a very, 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 very well-known psalm, but not just for Jews. It's also, by the way, some of the verses of the psalm are used in something in our Siddur. Marsha will remember this. For Noah, we quoted, there's a very famous song that's done for blessing of the animals in the Talmud that takes different verses from the Psalms that refer to animals and create a whole. I'm going to try and find it. It's in the CBST Siddur. It's on page 196 and 187. We only excerpted from it's called Perek Shirah. We didn't use the verses from Psalm 24, but Psalm 24 is part of Perek Shirah, which is a very famous Talmudic compilation of verses that celebrate the animals in God's universe. We only it's a pretty long piece, so we didn't use the verses from this psalm, but we used if you look at page 196, 197 in CBST's Siddur, we used it. So it's used a lot in Christianity. All different parts of this psalm appear in different Christian hymns. I'm not an expert in that, but and of course it's in Handel's Messiah. For those of you will recognize "Lift Up Your Head, O Ye Gates." I'm sure Ira could hum a few bars of that for us. But that section's very famous from Handel's Messiah. And there's a lot of Christian uses of it way beyond that. It's known very well known as a psalm by the opening, especially in Christian liturgy. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Okay, so this is one that gets used a lot in all different places, and there are a few other places it even gets used in Jewish prayers, but those are the most well-known ones. Yeah, okay, the Reform movement thing is I'm pretty sure it's from the 50s, but all right, we'll see. Anyway, I'm sure our cantors and others will be able to bring some interesting musical settings, and maybe Ira can bring us a recording of the setting from Handel's Messiah, and I'm sure anybody who knows Handel's Messiah recognizes those words.
Well, I have one if you want to play out with it. I was able to find
Okay,
it.
great. From the Handel's Messiah.
So having read through this, shall we just play out with that, Rabbi? What do you think?
Are we out of time? Yep.
Well, it's 10:41, so that would.
Okay, great. Let's play out with it, and then tomorrow, so you'll send out the stuff for the rest of this
send out
week.
everything.
So we will study Psalm 24.
Okay, let me find one. And hold on. Let me get to the right settings for sharing. Okay.
That's pretty spectacular. So we'll continue exploring this Psalm 24 this week. And thank you to all of you for your beautiful offerings today. And look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow morning.